There are 7 types of investors in Canada, and the type you are right now is deciding how rich or how broke you'll be in 10 years. Most Canadians have no clue which one they are. They just throw money at whatever their bank recommends, hope for the best, and wonder why their account barely moves while the cost of everything keeps climbing. So, in the next few minutes, you're going to see your future life as every type of investor in Canada. Let's start with the first type, the sleeper. This is the Canadian who keeps every dollar in a basic checking or savings account, earning almost nothing. They think they're being safe, but they're really losing money every month. With inflation running at 2.8% as of spring 2026, every dollar parked in a 0.05% savings account is buying less coffee, less groceries, and less gas with each passing month, even though the number on the screen never changes. The sleeper works 40 years, retires with maybe 60,000 saved, and leans entirely on CPP and OAS. The maximum OAS as of the April to June 2026 quarter is $742.31 a month for ages 65 to 74. Try living on that in Toronto or Vancouver. The sleeper's life is full of small daily worries, watching grocery bills climb and praying nothing breaks down at home. If this sounds like you, the good news is that simply moving your cash into a high interest savings account or a cashable GIC paying around 3.4 to 3.8% in 2026 instantly puts you ahead of millions of Canadians who never bothered to make that one phone call. The second type is the debt juggler. This person earns decent money but carries a credit card balance, a line of credit, maybe a car loan, and tells themselves they'll start investing once the debt is gone. The problem is that it never actually gets gone. Credit card interest in Canada sits around 20% or higher, and no investment on earth reliably beats that. The debt juggler's life feels like a treadmill that never slows down. Raises disappear into minimum payments, vacations get charged, and retirement becomes a fantasy they keep pushing further into the future. The way out is brutal but simple. Attack the highest interest debt first. Freeze the cards in a drawer and treat every extra dollar you throw at that balance like a guaranteed 20% return, because that's exactly what it is. The third type is the bank loyalist. This Canadian walks into their local bank, opens a mutual fund, lets an advisor pick everything, and never looks at it again. It sounds responsible, but it's one of the most expensive mistakes in the country. Many Canadian bank mutual funds still charge management fees of 2% or more per year. On a $200,000 portfolio, that's $4,000 lost every single year for decades. Over 30 years, those fees can eat close to 40% of your final retirement number without you ever noticing. The bank loyalist retires comfortable but confused, wondering why their portfolio never grew the way the brochures promised back when they signed up. The fix is moving to low-cost index ETFs through a discount broker, where fees can drop to around 0.2%. Same market exposure, a fraction of the cost, and the difference over your lifetime is often the price of an entire second home. The fourth type is the hype chaser. This is the Canadian who jumps on whatever's trending. Crypto in 2021, cannabis stocks in 2018, AI stocks in 2024, meme stocks whenever they pop up on social media. They buy at the top, panic at the bottom, sell at a loss, and start the cycle all over again. Their portfolio ends up looking like a graveyard of bad timing. The hype chaser's life is emotional chaos. They check prices 50 times a day. They argue with strangers online. They feel rich for a week and broke for a year. Study after study shows the average individual investor underperforms the market by about 3 to 5% per year because of this exact behavior. The cure is having a written investment plan and the discipline to ignore anything that doesn't fit inside it. The boring truth is that the Canadians making real money in the market are usually the ones who couldn't tell you what their portfolio did last week because they stopped looking and let the years do the work. The fifth type is the cautious saver. This Canadian does almost everything right on paper. They max out their TFSA at $7,000 in 2026. They contribute to their RRSP. They have an emergency fund. But every dollar sits in GICs or bond funds because the stock market still feels too scary. Here's where the math gets uncomfortable. A 35-year-old earning 4% on bonds versus 8% in a balanced equity portfolio will end up with roughly half the retirement savings by age 65. Safety feels great in the moment, but it costs you a very different kind of retirement. The cautious saver isn't broken or doing anything stupid. They just need to slowly add equity exposure, maybe through a single asset allocation ETF, and let time do the heavy lifting in the background. A common middle ground is starting with something like a 60/40 or 80/20 stock to bond split, getting comfortable with the normal ups and downs over a year or two, and adjusting from there once the headlines stop feeling personal. The sixth type is the strategic builder. They fill their FHSA first if they're buying a home, taking advantage of the $8,000 annual room and the $40,000 lifetime limit, getting both a tax deduction going in and tax free growth coming out. They max their TFSA every January, like clockwork. They use RRSP contributions strategically during their highest income years, with the 2026 limit set at $33,810 or 18% of earned income, whichever is lower. They invest in broad market ETFs covering Canada, the US, and international markets. They rebalance once a year and ignore everything else. The strategic builder's life looks pretty unremarkable from the outside. They drive the same car for 8 years, live in a reasonable home, take regular vacations. But behind the scenes, their net worth doubles roughly every 9 years on autopilot, and by 55, they have real options. By 60, they have real freedom. What separates this person from everyone below them on the list is honestly pretty simple. They decided early that boring was fine, and they stopped trying to outsmart a market that has rewarded patient Canadians for over 100 years straight. The seventh and final type is the wealth architect. This is the Canadian who treats money like a system they're building. They have multiple streams of income flowing in. They own dividend paying Canadian stocks for tax advantaged income through the dividend tax credit. They hold US growth ETFs inside their RRSP to avoid the 15% foreign withholding tax that would otherwise eat into their returns. They use their TFSA for the highest growth assets they own, so every dollar of future gain comes out completely tax free. They might own a rental property, a small business, or both. Their planning horizon stretches across decades because they understand that real wealth is built slowly. The wealth architect's life isn't flashy or loud. It's calm. Bills are automatic, investments are automatic, and the biggest financial decisions they face now are about where to travel next and which causes to support. So, which one of these are you right now? Take a second and be honest with yourself, because nothing changes until you can name where you actually stand. Plenty of high earners retire broke because they never built a system, and plenty of average earners retire wealthy because they followed one for 30 years without flinching. What matters is the structure you put around your money and how consistent you are with it. The encouraging part is that your investor type isn't permanent. It's a snapshot of where your habits are today, and habits can shift the moment you decide to take a different action. You don't need a big windfall, a new job, or a perfect market. You need one small move that pushes you into the next type up, and then another move a few weeks later, and another after that. Most Canadians who eventually become wealth architects didn't start there. They started as sleepers or debt jugglers, made one better decision, and stacked another on top of it until the whole picture changed. A simple way to begin is to open a self-directed TFSA with a discount broker. Buy one all-in-one ETF that already holds thousands of companies around the world, and set up an automatic contribution that comes out the same day you get paid. If this helped you see your money in a new way, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you there.